Excellencies, ministers, ambassadors, participants, ladies and gentlemen, as we start the final day of the United Nations Public Service Forum and award ceremonies, I would like to request Mr. Patrick Mutawire, Acting Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Local Government of Uganda, who is the Rapporteur General of the Forum, to come forward and read out the recommendations that the Forum made. Please welcome Mr. Patrick Mutawire. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, and dear delegates. This is a communique reflecting the recommendations that we have arrived at in the 2014 United Nations Public Service Forum Day and Award Ceremony. After 4 days of deliberation, networking and sharing, participants in the forum have made the following recommendations. 1, national and local government level policy making aimed at achieving the MDGs post-2015, resilient and sustainable development must always include risk analysis, consider disaster prevention measures, and the future impact on poverty and human security. 2, innovations in governance and public administration are critical for sustainable development and well-being of the people. They should take place at all levels of governance and include institutional and human capacity development, including transformative and collaborative leadership, professionalism, ethics, integrity, transparency, accountability, and control of self-interest and pro-people public service structures and behavior. 3, promote a collaborative and participatory e-governance platform and leadership by 1, sharing common vision and values among the stakeholders, securing political will, developing trust of citizens in e-government, and ensuring user centricity, thereby helping to increase access to and usage of e-government platforms, especially for poor and vulnerable, such as women, youth, people in rural areas, and the elderly. 2, build the necessary ICT infrastructure to improve connectivity. Putting in place the supporting legal, policy, and risk management frameworks, establishing a central coordinating body, ensuring implementation agencies have policy mandate, allocating financial resources, and creating an incentive system which can include an innovation fund, awards, and gamification. 4, in that point, building human resource capacity of citizens and public sector on information and communications technology, implementing combination of top-down and bottom-up approaches, forging intergovernmental agencies, collaboration, and public-private partnerships, co-creating with citizens, civil society, and private sector, carrying out process re-engineering and integration of systems, formulating and implementing strategic and actions plans, collecting feedbacks, conducting monitoring and evaluation, knowledge sharing with other stakeholders, institutionalizing reforms. Point number 4 is supporting capacity building activities that are specific to small islands development states, commonly known as SIDs, on e-government, including knowledge platforms, technical cooperation on innovation and e-government for sustainable development, i.e. repository of legislation, e-government strategies, and innovative practices. Study tours to better understand, replicate, and adapt innovations and good practices in other SIDs. Conferences and meetings to promote collaboration between SIDs and international development partners. Point number 5, in order to strengthen the capabilities of Supreme Audit institutions, engagement with the citizens, their efforts in the fight against fraud and corruption, and enhance their effectiveness in reviewing public initiatives, it is essential to include the independence of the SAIs, support for their capacity building and improving accounting systems as elements in the framework of the post-2015 development agenda for sustainable development goals. Point number 6, small Supreme Audit institutions need to adopt innovative practices in their engagement with the citizens and in their efforts to fight fraud and corruption, enhance public sector performance and accountability. In view of the SI's roles and responsibilities to detect and deter fraud and corruption, the division of labor with other stakeholders in this field need to be clarified. SIs are encouraged to strengthen the design of audit procedures and consider undertaking or parallel audits of cross-border activities where relevant. 7, ensure that gender is mainstreamed across all goals related to services in the post-2015 development agenda and SDGs in order to fully realize women's human rights everywhere. Political commitment, adequate resources, and data are necessary for effective implementation of the agenda. 8, make the delivery of public services more effective and just by addressing the structural causes of gender inequality and recognizing the critical role of these services in addressing women's unpaid care work. Number 9, adopt citizen-oriented approaches in designing the plans for innovation to ensure the participation of citizens not only in the designing process of innovation, but also in the whole policy and public service delivery process, which will ultimately contribute to the well-being of the people. Government 3.0 projects of Korea is a good example in this regard. 10, open government is a core element for successful innovation of public administration and governance. Through open government, we can make our government more transparent, accountable, and responsive to citizens. 11, focus on the creation of value of citizens as well as efficiency of cost in all innovations, whether e-government, gender responsiveness, transparency, and accountability. 12, build good e-government from a multidimensional consideration, including the competence of the government, the needs of the citizens, how to maximize digital divide, and cyber security. 13, participation of citizens is an enhancer of community development, both in the functional aspects and democratic perspective. Models of community development are emerging in many countries. Korea's Samuel Udong is regarded as an effective system of citizens' participation for community development. Although they do not have to take the same model with Korea, it is worthwhile to consider and learn from the experience of Korea's remarkable achievements made through the system of encouraging autonomous participation of citizens to make their community a better place to live in. Participants expressed appreciation of the hospitality accorded to them by the government of the Republic of Korea, in particular the Ministry of Security and Public Administration, as well as the city of Yoyang. And I think this one we need to clap. The hospitality was great. We need to clap for that. They equally expressed participation of UNDESA, UN Women, and UNDP for their substantive organization and facilitation of the Forum and Public Service Awards program, and appealed to the UN Secretariat and other development partners to further support the United Nations Public Service Award program as a mechanism for developing the capacity of public service for sustainable development and well-being of the people. Thank you very much, and we clap for those agencies.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick Mtabwire, for putting together that report. He read out the recommendations because the report is slightly longer, and I would like to inform you that the report is on the website of the United Nations Public Service Awards Forum, so you can access it and download it in order to have the whole report as it was written. Excellencies, ministers, ambassadors, participants, ladies and gentlemen, I now have the pleasure and privilege to invite the Ambassador Wu, the Under Secretary General of the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, and the following ministers to come forward and take their seats on the stage so that we can start the Ministerial Roundtable. Your Excellency, Ambassador Wu, and the following ministers. You will be accompanied by the following ministers. From the Kingdom of Bahrain, Mr. Mohammed Arcade, Chief Executive Officer, E-Government Authority. From Bangladesh, His Excellency Zainad Ahmed Pak. From the Central African Republic, His Excellency Anguimat Elwa. From the Republic of Kenya, Professor Margaret Kobia, Chairperson of the Public Service Commission. From the Kingdom of Lesotho, His Excellency Motorera Poko, Minister of Public Service. From the Republic of Korea, our dear host, His Excellency Chung Kuk Park, Vice Minister of Security and Public Administration. From the Kingdom of Morocco, His Excellency Mohamed Mubud, Minister in charge of Civil Service. From Ireland, His Excellency Brendan Hollin, Minister of Public Expenditure and Reform. From Solomon Islands, His Excellency Stanley Sof. From South Sudan, His Excellency Ngor Konlung Ngor, Minister of Labor, Public Service and Human Resource Development. From Sri Lanka, His Excellency Don John Senevilant, Minister of Public Administration and Home Affairs. From Swaziland, His Excellency Patrick Mamba, Minister of Public Service. From Timor-Leste, His Excellency George Tem, Minister of Public Service. From Uganda, Her Excellency Priska Sezimbaguta, Minister of State for Public Service. I think the honorable ministers have taken their seats, and therefore I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Wu Ongbo, Under Secretary General Economic and Social Affairs of the United Nations, to give his remarks and open the Ministerial Roundtable.
Your Excellencies, Ministers, Ambassadors, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to welcome you to this Ministerial Roundtable on innovating governance for sustainable development and well-being of the people. Thank you for your participation in the discussion and the contribution to the United Nations Public Service Forum Day and Awards Ceremony. Your involvement demonstrates the importance you place on innovation in public service and services, and also serves to inspire public servants to seek creative solutions to the challenges they face. Effective public service is essential to ensuring people's well-being. Populations deprived of a basic public service can hardly be productive or development-oriented. Therefore, leadership in public sector institutions must promote effective and equitable delivery of public service. The United Nations Public Service Forum provides a great opportunity to take stock of progresses made in implementing innovative practices in governance and public administration. This year's forum has been an occasion for us to share our vision for the future in terms of governance, public administration, and public service. The global community is at a crucial moment as we prepare to embark on a new global development agenda. It is critical to build on the success and lessons learned from MDGs. Effective governance and public administration are important enablers for addressing global challenges and achieving our development goals. Public service is at the forefront in this endeavor. Strengthening public administration and public services is an important investment for sustainable development. Effective, strong public administration is essential to enable institutions to promote economic and social development, improve access to public services, promote human rights, enhance the participation of women in the development processes, mitigate conflict, and protect the environment. In addition, we should not only enhance the capacities of our existing institutions, but also our human resources and information and communication technologies, not simply in the public sector, but in all sectors. Doing so will help ensure the effective formulation and implementation of much needed sound public policies. Today, we have the opportunity to benefit from your ideas and perspectives on how governments can be agents of a change to promote innovation in public governance. I have reviewed the recommendations from the forum. I look forward to a meaningful discussion to explore what we can do to implement these recommendations. With that, I would like to thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wu. We will now start the Ministerial Roundtable. Excellencies, ministers, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to invite to the podium Mrs. Anne Wolf, Head of International Relations and Project Director, Governance for Development, Nexus Strategic Partnership, to come and moderate the Ministerial Roundtable. Anne, please. We have got up to 11 o'clock, and so the last order I will give to Anne is to respect that timing. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Let's get started straight away, as I've had my orders not to overrun. The first question is, of this roundtable is the following. In your leadership position, what will you do to develop innovative governance and public administration which can support sustainable development and well-being of people? Gentlemen? Mr. Park. Sorry, Mr. Park.
네, 대한민국의 안전행정부 차관입니다. 성공적인 행정혁신을 이뤄내고 또 이를 강화하기 위해서는 우선 인식의 전환과 또 지속적인 제도 개선 그리고 행정 서비스 공급자의 역할 강화가 지속적으로 이루어지도록 해 나가야 한다고 생각합니다. 먼저 의식의 측면에서 행정 편의주의적인 공급자 위주의 관점에서 벗어나서 행정의 수요자인 시민의 입장에서 서비스를 제공하고자 하는 인식의 전환을 주도해 나가고자 합니다. 두 번째는 제도적인 측면에서 보다 많은 정보 개방을 공유하고 또 행정기관 간 소통과 협력을 활성화해 나감으로써 양질의 행정 서비스가 제공되고 또 제도화될 수 있도록 정비해 나가고자 합니다. 우리나라는 현재 정부 3.0이라는 혁신 패러다임을 통해서 인식을 전환하고 또 플랫폼을 개선함으로써 국민 개개인의 특징을 고려한 맞춤형 서비스를 제공해 나가고 있습니다. 이 과정에서 행정혁신의 주체가 되는 우리 공무원들이 스스로 혁신의 비전과 필요성을 인식하고 능력을 충분히 발휘할 수 있도록 적절한 교육과 훈련을 제공할 필요가 있다고 생각합니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you, Mr. Park. Would anybody else like to comment? Please.
Thank you, Vani, for giving me the floor. And also, I would like to give my heartiest greetings and thanks to Under-Secretary of United Nations and the Department of UNDESA, and also His Excellencies and the Honorable Ministers and the guests. On behalf of the Bangladeshi people, I would like to give you my heartiest congratulations and thanks to all. In my views, the encouraging local level innovation from the field level, the public administrators, because they are the one who knows the problems and to of serving delivery and understand citizens' sufferings. So we are also engaging the citizens to co-create solutions to problems. For instance, we have set up 4,500 local government information service centers all over the country in Bangladesh, and in every month the peoples are getting service from these centers. There are near about 4 million people are getting the service in every month, and we already got ITU award for successfully implementation of this project. So I think these institutions where over the people can get the service directly from the government, and we already ensure the transparency, accountability, and we eradicate lots of corruption. So these underserved citizens go to digital service everywhere. So this is my views. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think the first question I would ask is innovative governance for what? And if the innovative governance is to enhance public service delivery, then I will be involved in planning, because I know innovation will not happen unless we purposely plan for it. And we plan with the involvement of the public servants who are supposed to deliver, and also the citizens who are supposed to receive. Then I would also prioritize, maybe in a year, how many innovations would make sense, because when you have a framework for innovating governance, you may come with several new innovations. Then you need to prioritize so that you can focus to the most important. So once I have prioritized, then I will still involve the team for execution. And in all the policy or regulation that I plan to develop, they will mainly be evidence-based. That means using data so that the decisions of the innovation that we make are informed by evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you. And I too would congratulate the United Nations and our great hosts, Korea, for the events of the last few days. But to answer the specific questions, I mentioned at the opening plenary that for my own country, Ireland, innovation and change was not an option. In an economic crisis, the new government that came into office 3.5 years ago saw that a response to the crisis was not only economic, but public sector and political reform. So how did we go about that? I think all the contributions I've listened to over the last number of days hit the same themes. You need leadership, you need a dedicated, clear program, and you need resources. So what we did is we created a new dedicated reform ministry headed by a cabinet minister with the resources of the state in terms of public expenditure to be transformative across all areas of public activity. We have therefore a committee, which is a subcommittee of cabinet, chaired by the Prime Minister, who quarterly is reported to on the progress of a dedicated bespoke program. And that program is driven by an Office of Reform and Change within my own department, headed up, by the way, by somebody recruited from the private sector who had great experience of change management. So I think the three key ingredients to address the issues of bringing about change and innovation is strong leadership, a clear program, and dedicated resources. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to share 3 points. And although I'm not responsible for any specific government, or either at the national or the local level, I'm involved in the United Nations discussions on the formulation of the future Sustainable Development Goals. As far as the arrangements for future public administration is concerned, I think there are 3 points we may pay attention to. Number 1 is the integration of 3 aspects. That is, economic and social environmental aspects of sustainable development. Normally, when we talk about public administration, in many cases, the ultimate goal is to promote the local GDP. The facts have proven to all of us that is not enough. So how to integrate economic, social, and environmental aspects of the sustainable development is a challenge for the future public administration. Point number 2 is the means of implementation. As public administrators, we all understand, no matter how good your plans are, without financial support, it's just empty talk. The member states in the United Nations are discussing how to mobilize the funds for the future sustainable development agenda. So this is also a challenge for future public administration. If we can do a good job, then the implementation of sustainable development agenda, either at the local level or national level, will be ensured. Last but not least, that is accountability system. We know the money in the future will not only come in from the public sector, from the government. We are going to bring all the private sectors, NGOs, and other stakeholders on board. So if there is no accountability system, your plan will not be that attractive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wu. I think it's time to move on to the second question, which is as follows. Mention 2 of the major challenges which leaders in government face in developing innovative governance to support sustainable development in its social, economic, and environmental dimensions. How do you propose to address these challenges? Please.
Thank you very much. I think each country has its own view on how to face the challenges and how to provide solutions to the changes, to the problems. And let me just give a short view on developing countries, relatively small countries. In my view, most of the small countries, the challenges that they face basically on human resource and how to strengthening the capacity of the human resource, which they are the actors, they are the operators of the machine of the administration. And the second issue or the challenges is the ethic of work. If in a government system, in an administration system, the ethic of work has been strengthening, is well attained, it would be no problem for the running of the machine of the administration in any environment, in any social, or any economic, or in any social structure. It all depends on, as I said before, the quality of the human and also the ethic of the work ethic itself. So in the case of my country, and probably any other countries who has similar problem with my country, the most challenging is human resource. Because wherever a country is rich of oil or gas, but if human resource is not that available, is not that qualified, the money that the country has can flow overseas and doesn't stay in the country. The country can stay poor and the money flowing out overseas. And at the moment, what my country is experiencing. That's only my view. Thank you very much.
Yes, please.
I do agree with my brother from East Timor, but I want to add two things. One is the corruption. How to eliminate and fighting the corruption from your country will determine. Second to it is to motivate the public servant. How you, in your country, how can you motivate your public servant? This is, I think, in my opinion, that the major challenges we are facing as leaders in the government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I just wanted to thank the government of the Republic of South Korea for the hospitality and for organizing this event, and the UN, His Excellency, the USG of the Mr. Wu of the United Nations for inviting us. I think the capabilities and the capacity of the civil servants to deal with the issues and the challenges that the government faces is a very important thing. The other thing is the process of the change being in place. We might being able to resolve some issues of being very innovative, but if the process and methodology in place is not there for the people to follow, then it will be scattered or isolated. So in this regard, what we did, we created the system that can allow the continuous improvement and sustainable development. In terms of the governance, for example, we have 2 governance committees, very high level, one for IT and one in general about the accountability and the structures and the overall governance of the government. So there is a process and forms that has to be followed and accountability from the ministries. In terms of infrastructure readiness, we have another committee, enterprise architecture, and there is a methodology to train all the civil servants to be able that all ministries are up to the level of the infrastructure to deliver a good service. In terms of strategy development, again, we have another program for 5 years to train and make sure taking all the IT departments through the journey of developing their strategy and linking that into the objectives of the ministries and the government and the sustainability of the programs, not only looking at the technical side of it. The re-engineering side, for example, is very important, but how to re-engineer the process of the government. Again, we have a committee with civil service, with Ministry of Finance and e-government authority to go and visit each and every process in the government and make sure that we change it and eliminate the duplication. We have the Excellence Center that they look innovatively into the way that the government delivers the service and try to change that. The process to listen to the citizens, we have a system that the complaint system, which is announced by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, and there is a process within each and every ministry. It's a unified national system. Any citizen can complain or suggest to the government, and there is a process followed, go to the minister, from the minister to the director to the department with an SLA associated to that, and if they don't adhere to, it will be the flag raised to the His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. So the process, if it's in place, then I think the governments can have a sustainable development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you. And first, I would like to give you an information that, yes, in Bangladesh we have a lot of human resource because we have a very small land, but we have 160 million of people. So we have the human resource, but the challenge is how to build and develop their capacity. So capacity building is one major challenge for every developing country like Bangladesh and others. And also I would like to share another thing is the major challenges you asked, and for 2, I think collaboration across the ministries and agencies. This is very important, and in my views, developing a shared vision and constantly reminding our leaders of that vision. This is very important. And the capacity to innovate and to promote new ideas and effective solutions to increasingly complex development challenges is essential for well-being of the citizens in the countries around the world. So developing a shared vision and constantly reminding our leaders of that vision. This is very important, I think. Thank you.
Thank you.
He only identify people who are close.
Merci Madame. Je viens d'un pays, la République centrafricaine, un pays en conflit, mais un pays pauvre, un pays qui a d'énormes défis à relever. D'autant plus que nous sommes en ce moment en période de guerre, une guerre qui trouve sa source dans la pauvreté. Et donc, pour un pays comme le mien, un pays donc pauvre, un pays qui est en conflit armé, nous estimons que la contribution que le département de la fonction publique dont j'ai la charge peut apporter, c'est de faire en sorte que la jeunesse qui constitue 70% de la population et cette jeunesse au sein de laquelle on va recruter les bras armés pour mener les conflits soit occupée, soit par une formation continue, soit par une formation initiale, mais encore et davantage par une formation professionnelle. Donc nous estimons que dans des pays pauvres comme le mien, le défi qu'il faut qu'on relève, c'est le défi de la pauvreté, le défi du développement, et que ce défi peut se résorber quand on aura à employer beaucoup plus de jeunes, de sorte que cette jeunesse ne soit pas en déperdition et que cette jeunesse ne soit pas utilisée pour faire des guerres pour lesquelles elle n'est pas préparée. Je vous remercie.
Merci Madame la Présidente, Mesdames et Messieurs. J'ai le plaisir d'être parmi vous dans ce forum international. J'ai le plaisir d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui dans ce forum intéressant et c'est l'occasion de remercier le pays hôte, la Corée du Sud, les Nations Unies et tous ceux qui ont participé à la mise en place de ce forum et qui ont permis à nous, ministres et experts, d'échanger sur un problème primordial qui est la fonction publique. La fonction publique qui est un secteur qui retient l'attention aujourd'hui parce que pour nous au Maroc, la fonction publique, c'est un élément moteur, c'est un véhicule des politiques et il doit être performant, il doit être transparent, il doit être efficace. Et nous avons mis en place un plan d'action qui vise à améliorer l'accès aux citoyens et à l'entreprise, aux services publics d'une manière plus rapide, plus transparente et plus efficace. Je crois que le potentiel humain joue ici un rôle très important et c'est pour cela qu'il a retenu notre attention au Maroc. D'abord pour la mise en place de tous les outils qui permettent de réévaluer le potentiel humain dans la fonction publique. D'abord, de par sa formation continue, de par son rendement, de par sa rentabilité aussi, son efficacité, sa responsabilité, son évaluation. C'est un système qui est mis en place. Ça va nous permettre de rendre l'administration publique plus intelligente et plus productive. Parce que ce que nous assistons au Maroc aujourd'hui, c'est que c'est une administration où on attend un rendement, mais aussi pour effacer, je dirais, une certaine idée que la fonction publique, c'est un lieu où on peut avoir une carrière sans avoir accès à une évaluation, sans être tenu à rendre les comptes. Aujourd'hui, nous avons une constitution qui est plus claire, plus responsable, qui exige à ce qu'on regarde le côté reddition des comptes, lié à la responsabilité aux comptes, et aussi l'approche genre est un point tout à fait important à retenir. Je crois que les actions qui sont mises aujourd'hui en place et les outils nous ont permis, nous, au Maroc, d'avoir accès à cette intelligence, à cette potentialité. C'est une chance non seulement pour les femmes, mais aussi pour le pays de saisir l'occasion de tirer profit au maximum de ces compétences, de cette intelligence qui est la femme. Aujourd'hui, des outils d'encouragement à l'accès aux grandes responsabilités sont mis en place, soit au gouvernement ou aux hautes responsabilités. Et je crois que la distinction qu'on aura à vivre tout à l'heure témoigne de ces efforts. Deux, comment améliorer la relation entre le citoyen et l'administration. Ce sont la simplicité des procédures, l'efficacité des procédures, l'information, le citoyen et l'entreprise doivent avoir accès à une information rapide, large. Et le troisième point, c'est la gouvernance. Comment rendre l'administration, je dirais, au service d'une manière égale à tous les citoyens et à l'entreprise. Et comment nous, on peut éradiquer ce fléau qui aujourd'hui nous pénalise, qui est la corruption à un degré plus ou moins égal comme partout dans le monde, mais je crois que nous sommes en train de mettre en place une stratégie nationale mais qui intègre et qui responsabilise un certain nombre d'acteurs pour éradiquer ce fléau qui aujourd'hui nous pénalise encore. Et je crois que les efforts qui sont entrepris aujourd'hui, à terme, vont nous permettre d'améliorer encore plus ce service public. Donc je conclus que le potentiel humain, sa formation, son évaluation, le suivi de sa carrière, ce sont des éléments importants pour qu'on puisse améliorer la rentabilité et le rendement dans la fonction publique. Je vous en remercie.
Thank you so much. I know that many of you want to answer this question. I'm afraid we're going to have to move on to the next question, number 3. What will you do to promote understanding among all governance actors of the importance of e-government policies and strategies, practices, and tools? Please.
Thank you very much. I think this question is very close to my heart, being the chairman of the IT Governance Committee and a member of the, in general, the governance and the government. And being a chairperson of one of the companies, again, we are implementing this kind of governance. Of course, it's, the governance is very important and key to any success of IT implementations. Policies and strategies has to be there and has to be followed properly. So what we do, we have some long-term vision, try to educate and having visions and objectives and making sure, as I mentioned earlier, that all the ministries are adhering to those. But usually you have to start step by step. Train the civil servants, give them certifications in the field and making sure that they can understand what policies are coming in place through workshops. And then, you know, we develop, for example, a set of policies and standards and strategies and make sure that we communicate, publish it in the website. Everybody are aware of it. The enforcement of the Supreme Committee or the Cabinet is very important. And I think the most important thing is to link it to the budget approval. If you just educate the people and leave them alone, nobody will follow. But if it's the part of the process of the budget approval, if they want to ask for anything, it's in line with the policies and standards of the government is very important. The other element is you have to take them step by step. Don't give every single policy and strategy as a junk and let people to implement. You have to start with something, the most important thing. Let the people understand, swallow them, and then take it step by step. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you. I should begin by congratulating Korea, who this week yet again has become first in the UN League of countries in relation to e-governance. So my sincere congratulations. I think it's four years in a row now that Korea is top of the league. So we're in the right place to learn how e-government should be implemented. To touch on the point made by our Bahraini friend, I think it requires a whole-of-government approach. In Ireland, what we've done is obviously appointed a national chief information officer, but working in a very practical, direct way with a chief information officer in every agency and department of state in a national information council to implement a set timelined agenda that involves the upskilling of all civil servants across all government departments. The second part of the question is, well, if we actually have an effective e-government strategy for government, how do we include civil society? A very useful tool that my own government has used is our involvement in the Open Government Partnership, a United Nations initiative. There are now more than 60 countries in the OGP. I had the privilege to chair the European OGP in Dublin last month, and open data is a key deliverer of participation from civil society. Our own OGP program was tendered out to civil society and was drafted and coordinated by Transparency International Ireland. So I think it is important to ensure that as we provide platforms for effective e-government, that there is perceived and demonstrable benefit for our citizens and for civic actors in that, so that we work in tandem. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you, ma'am. I think in the first case, I wish to add my appreciation for the government of Korea for their hospitality, and also the UN for this wonderful meeting. In my perspective, I think the basic issue is to instill confidence in our governments, in our leadership, in their ability to lead and to uptake e-governance. But secondly, it is to engage in training on e-governance. That also helps to dispel the fear about e-governance and to make for greater understanding of what e-governance is, and probably its advantages and benefits to the whole community in general. I think these, to me, are basic issues that one should engage in. Training, as far as I'm concerned, is most important, because it is that training which makes it easier for some of us to uptake that e-governance. I thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wu.
Thank you very much. And first of all, good news. And UNDESA just released 2014 e-government survey. What is encouraging is that within a few hours after the release of the report, as many as 3 million web users visited the site, and 12,000 downloads already there. And this shows that general public is increasingly interested in the future development of e-government, as well as how each and every government is doing, to what level they have achieved in their achievements. And secondly, when we talk about e-government, we should to think it in a creative way. Just concrete example, in Africa, the internet service is not reaching each and every household. However, there's increasing number of people using cell phones. There are some problems because the governments do not have the statistics as such. So the colleagues from Economic Commission in Africa were suggesting that they are going to use cell phones to do surveys, to get the vital statistics that will be used for government planning. That has been on an experimental basis. So this is just one example which shows that ICT technologies and the existing technologies would be very helpful in promoting e-government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wu. Please.
예, 감사합니다. 이번 행사에 대해서 저를 만족해 하시고 또 고맙다는 인사를 해주셔서 저 역시 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 저는 한국 정부의 전자정부 정책을 총괄을 하고 있습니다. 다행히 이번 UN 전자정부 평가에서도 우리나라가 3회 연속해서 1위를 차지해서 온 국민들이 기뻐하고 또 보다 나은 전자정부를 실현하기 위해서 노력하고 있습니다. 그 중에서 가장 중요한 것이 이제 이 거버넌스 문제라고 생각합니다. 그래서 어떻게 하면은 많은 국민들의 참여와 지지 속에서 이 전자정부 정책이 추진이 되는가 하는 것입니다. 그러기 위해서는 우선 국민들이 전자정부의 효율성에 대해서 피부로 느낄 수 있게 해주는 것이 중요하다고 생각합니다. 우리나라에서는 안심 귀가 서비스라고 하는 서비스를 제공을 하고 있는데 대중교통을 이용해서 밖에 외출했다가 들어오는 자녀들이 안전하게 귀가하고 있는가 하는 것을 집에서 부모가 확인해 줄 수 있도록 하는 서비스를 하고 있습니다. 그리고 행정기관에서 발급되는 각종 그 민원이 있습니다. 예를 들면 무슨 증명서라든지 여러 가지 그 행정기관에서 제공되는 서비스를 24시간 인터넷을 통해서 언제 어디에서나 발급 가능하도록 하는 서비스를 제공하고 있습니다. 그래서 온 국민이 편리하게 행정기관에서 발급되는 이런 각종 그 민원 서류를 받아봄으로써 이것이 전자정부군 하는 것을 피부로 실감토록 하는 것입니다. 또한 이 정부에서 갖고 있는 각종 그 데이터를 개방을 해서 국민들이 언제 어디서나 편리하게 사용할 수 있도록 제공을 하는 것입니다. 인터넷을 통해서나 또는 이 휴대폰을 통한 모바일 서비스도 가능하도록 함으로써 언제 어디서나 정부에서 제공하는 자료를 공유하고 또 활용할 수 있도록 하는 것입니다. 그리고 이 전자정부 정책에 국민들이 적극적으로 참여하도록 하는 것입니다. 이렇게 편리하기 때문에 더 많은 그런 그 서비스를 요구하게 되고 또 행정기관에서는 더 편리하게 편리성을 계속 추구하게 되기 때문입니다. 그래서 최근에 우리나라에서 2단계로 이제 보다 발전된 서비스를 계획하고 있는 것이 국민 개개인 맞춤형 서비스. 그러니까 국민 각자에 맞는, 여성이면 여성에 맞는 서비스, 노인은 노인에게 맞는 서비스, 또 아동은 아동들에게 맞는 서비스, 이런 국민 각자의 요구에 응답할 수 있는 서비스를 제공하기 위해서 노력을 하고 있습니다. 이것이 금년에 이제 착수가 되면 바로 2, 3년 내에 그런 서비스 공급이 또 가능해질 것입니다. 그리고 모든 그 데이터를 이제 클라우드 기반으로 해서 언제 어디서나 활용할 수 있도록 하는 것을 보다 더 강화해 나가려고 계획하고 있습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I take this opportunity to thank the UN for organizing this forum to discuss matters pertaining to public service in our countries. Now, I would like to say that this concept of e-government was introduced in my country about 8 years ago, and we are going up the ladder. But certain handicaps are there. That is the lack of ICT literacy and the facilities that are available in order to imbibe this ICT knowledge is very limited. As a result, we have not been able to fully utilize the opportunity. And I feel the awareness must be made compulsory, and all the government servants should comply with this concept. In order to make the situation effective, I believe the facilities in order to impart the ICT literacy must be made available. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm afraid it's time to leave this question and move on to question number 4. Governments have a duty and interest to engage citizens in policy making, implementation, monitoring and evaluation processes. What will you do to foster citizen engagement in public auditing process and social accountability actions?
Thank you. Thank you very much. In my country, I think we have been trying to use citizen participation in making policy. However, I think what I commit myself to do now is to have a structured approach to citizen participation in the policy making, because I do realize sometimes if we do not have a structured way for citizen participation, we might not get maximum input. For example, I am aware in my country sometimes people may be called just one morning, 2 hours, and it's a big group, and then we are taken through materials when maybe we are not very prepared. Therefore, looking at all the stakeholders would come together, and now I think in my country it's easy to get stakeholders because of the use of mobile technology. You cannot easily get as many as maybe you may require. And once we have a structured approach for right from formulation, implementing, evaluating, I think that would hold a promise of having policies that are speaking to the needs of the people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think setting the structures is important and vital in being able to engage the public in these issues. Parliament is one of those useful institutions. And in my country, there are parliamentary committees which are established, and they engage the public extensively in policy making and implementation. This is a very useful instrument for engaging the public in that sector. And also, the culture of monitoring and evaluation is very important. I think we have had a weakness in establishing those structures for monitoring and evaluation. And I think we have to also instill that culture of building the necessary structures for monitoring and evaluation to be able to monitor the processes as we go along and evaluate how we undertake those processes that we engage in. We need to empower all the structures at all levels of governance in the ability to monitor and evaluate performances such that we know what we do and how we do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Please. Madam.
Thank you. I want to add my voice thanking for the hospitality we have received and the organization of the forum. In Uganda, we have already a policy in place on monitoring and evaluation. And what we do is to have meetings with the citizens, first of all by giving them the budgets and financial releases to the local government. What we need is to strengthen the barazas, as we call them, so that the citizens can ask questions on where the money is spent and on which projects, so that if the project is not in their interest, they can quickly inform government that we should not proceed with that. Secondly, in policy making, we need to strengthen the collaboration of the elected and appointed officials or elites so that they can work together as a team. So what we need is to build the capacities to ensure that the oversight functions of Parliament are strengthened and accountability and level of responsibility for the appointed officials is strengthened. What we need to see is to ensure that the capacity runs throughout the government structures, and we constantly refine them to be able to serve the people. Involving the citizens is we should move and use, we have about 9 million using the cell phone, and we can actually send messages, they can ask questions. What we need to put in place is to put the framework under which they can ask those questions and to ensure that the different agencies are interfaced in the e-governance. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Merci, Madame. Je crois que tout le monde est conscient du rôle du citoyen dans la gestion des affaires de l'État. Nous, au Maroc, le droit de la société civile d'intervention et d'avoir une opinion et un avis est garanti par la Constitution. Aujourd'hui, la société civile a le droit de légiférer à travers des propositions au niveau du Parlement. Il a le droit aussi d'intervenir pour la gestion des affaires locales à travers les communes. Aujourd'hui, la société civile au Maroc est très développée. Elle a un avis, elle a un rôle. C'est une gouvernance qui va nous permettre de rétablir la confiance au niveau du service public. C'est pour cela que ce partenariat public-privé est à développer. Nous en sommes conscients, c'est une stratégie que nous avons mise en place et je crois que le rôle de la société civile est démontré aujourd'hui, sachant bien que toutes les décisions et la gestion des affaires de l'État qui reviennent normalement aux partis et les partis ne couvrent pas toute la société. Ils ne donnent pas l'occasion à tous les citoyens d'y participer. Et je crois que cette fenêtre ouverte à la société civile et aux citoyens d'accéder à la gestion des affaires de l'État au niveau des communes et du Parlement ne peut que renforcer cette confiance et aller de l'avant pour améliorer le service public. Merci.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you. Can I strongly agree with some of the comments made previously about the pivotal role of Parliament in ensuring that policy is brought to the people. I know in our own Parliament there is a requirement that all legislation is submitted in draft form to Parliament, and parliamentary committees then engage with any interested citizen or groups of citizens in relation to fleshing out the detail of that policy before finalising any proposals for legislation. I think that is an important model. We also have a petitions committee modelled on the European Parliament Petitions Committee, where any citizen can submit a proposal for discussion to the Petitions Committee. They will evaluate its merits, and if they find it to have merit, submit it to a line policy committee for action. In terms of looking at budget and making that accountable, just to say one comment about changes we brought in again in Ireland, and that is performance budgeting. Because in the past, both governments and parliaments are very good at ensuring that money is spent as it was intended, but not great at ensuring that the money had the outcomes that it had intended. So we have performance budgeting that requires a report not only that the money was spent as voted by Parliament, but that the outcome was achieved as intended by Parliament, and that's important. And of course we live in Europe in the context of the Eurozone with oversight from the Commission and so on. So there is external evaluation of expenditure, and we have an independent fiscal advisory council outside of government that independently evaluates proposals for expenditure and projections for economic policy. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next question. In transforming governance and public administration, what innovations will you promote to make the public service responsive to specific needs of women and girls? Okay, I'm going to go to the other side of the stage because I can't actually see you very well. I do apologize. I don't have my correct glasses. So this first hand I see down there, please. Somebody start.
Okay. In my country, yes, I think the most important thing we will do is to eliminate and eradicate the early pregnancy of the ladies, and fighting the early marriages also. Early marriages, and encouraging the schooling of the girls. The government of the Republic of South Sudan raised the participation of the women in political arena from 25% to 35% to represent them in decision making. This is where we can empower the women and girls in my country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. On question number 5, it's a very important question. In our country, Swaziland, we've got the ministry which is for women and is placed under the Deputy Prime Minister's office. That shows the importance of the women and the girls. But it's safe to say these things, they all boil in the political will. If the government of the day is really keen to implement the resolution as it comes from conventions that women should be part and parcel of decision making. So I would say it's critical that the politicians, MPs, they should make sure that there are policies in place so that they are regulated to conform to the conventions. In Swaziland, we have got a new constitution which was enacted as an act in 2005. So we are now in preparation to formulate regulations which are going to comply with the Constitution. So I think we are in track to that record. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam, at the end, please.
Thank you, moderator. In Uganda, I think we made strides on enhancing the status of women. First of all, we have in parliament, we have 110 districts, and therefore we have 110 women legislators affirmatively selected. Secondly, our Speaker of Parliament is a woman, and that also enhances the ability of women. We have increased the number of women coming out of the universities by adding 1 point to women results so that we can build up the numbers. We have gender-related budgeting, not only in the Ministry of Gender, but across the government, to make sure that in every sector, the women affairs, the women issues are legislated and provided with a budget. So what we need for the future is to ensure that these affirmative actions are enhanced, the budgeting is done, we enhance our education, primary living, universal primary education, and strengthen is to ensure that the dropout of girls is curtailed. And that way, we shall have more women growing up into decision-making levels, and also to support women at the grassroots level, to support them, to ensure that they actually support their girl child and encourage them to remain in school. So we need those programs that can actually show that women are very important in decision making. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, in Bahrain, in the government already, the women workers are more than men in the government. So that's one very good achievement that we have. Of course, we have the Supreme Council for Women, headed by a lady and a level of minister, and reporting to Her Royal Highness. The E-Government Authority worked with the Supreme Council for Women to develop their strategy for the coming 4 years. Before coming here to join you, I received the agreement that E-Government Authority is going to sign with the Supreme Council for Women to support their implementation of the strategy. Part of it to establish equality committee and E-Government Authority, develop a database for women, and establish a link between the database and different databases within the government, start awareness programs for women on importance of ICT for the development, and sharing experiences, Last, online services to report any sort of abuse or complaint or suggestion related to women. That's in summary.
Thank you. Gentleman at the end, please.
Thank you. Since this is probably my last chance to speak in this forum, I would like to highly appreciate and thank South Korean government for hosting this forum, and also the United Nations who fully support this forum to be done. I think this question leads us to understand the whole problem of the whole society in the world, particularly the society in which women has become victims of discrimination. And back to 90s, most of the universities around the world starting to put gender as a study in order to encourage the academics and also the society to understand how important gender is, how important women are in playing the key roles in the development and in participation of the development. My society, actually a society which is really discriminate women because you have to pay a dowry to a woman after, when you marry her, and after marry her, she is silent, she is speakless, she cannot say anything. Man is the master of the whole family. So after we became independent, 12 years old, we try to understand what does gender mean, what is the participation of the women. That's why in our legislations, we try to make effort in order to put some criteria on recruiting civil serving, on the order of the candidates for parliament, and also in terms of recruiting the district administrators, we put 30 to 40% for women to having access as candidates. And I need to let you know that my parliament is 43% women. And I lead a small party, which is 100% women are sitting in the parliament. And having said this, we also have a Secretary of State, a state secretary, just to look after gender. And the promotion of gender has become a very important agenda in which from 1999, United Nations already came to Timor-Leste and just left a year ago. And we are on a good way, and hopefully countries and societies around the world, we together can uphold the promotion of women in making the transformation in the governance, and also attending the specific needs of women in many ways. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We can take just one more answer on this question. Is there somebody down there who has not spoken yet? Yes, please.
Thank you, Madam. Somaliland is a very small country in the Pacific, but has many islands. Before I give the answer to that very important question, let me first of all register my vote of thanks to the government and the people of Korea for the successful hosting of this very important forum. I wish to also thank UN for making available, possible for us to come here and attend this forum. Yeah, as I've said earlier on, Somaliland is a small country but has many islands. My answer to the question is, this is part of the performance management. You know, in our country we have ministries, and there is a ministry responsible for addressing the needs of women and girls. And it was the Chief Executive Officer or the Permanent Secretary has signed a contract with the government of Somaliland. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick comment here, please.
Thank you for giving me the floor, though you have the time constraint. I would like to just share one information from Bangladesh, that we have our Honorable Prime Minister women, and leader of opposition is also women. We have the Speaker, Honorable Speaker, she is also women. Leader of the Deputy Leader of the Parliament House, she is also women. And so we are enjoying the empowerment of women in Bangladesh. At present, I think there is no better combination than Bangladesh for women empowerment. And also we have 50 reserve seats for the women member of parliaments, and also directly elected another 20. So we have 70 women member of parliaments out of 300. So my suggestions to innovation fund, create innovation fund for the gender sensitive projects and also gender focal points in all agencies. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final question for this roundtable is the following. What will the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs do to mobilize member states to support the implementation of the recommendations of this forum?
It seems I'm the only one to answer this question. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. Let me just put you into the picture what is going on in the United Nations. We are facing an unprecedented challenge. That is, at this moment, the world way of production and consumption is not sustainable. As we know that in 2015, the Millennium Development Goals, known as MDG, will come to the end. What will happen after that? The member states of the United Nations reached agreement in 2012 in Rio, Brazil, that we should have a set of sustainable development goals on and beyond 2015. That's next year. When we are going to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the birth of the United Nations next year in New York, we are going to launch new set of sustainable development goals, which will cover at least next 15 years. What is challenging to all of us here is that the sustainable development goals will cover not only the least developed countries, developing countries or poor countries. It covers all the countries throughout the world. And how to reach that sustainable development agenda? It's a great challenge to all of us. So I would like to say, as I said in my remarks, the effective, inclusive public administration has been at the forefront in the implementation of the future sustainable development agenda. We in the Department of Economic and Social Affairs of the United Nations Secretariat are mainly doing things in the following 4 areas. First is the outreach. We would like to promote the ideas relating to e-government and effective public administration in relation to the further implementation of a sustainable development agenda. This is not easy because, as the Vice Minister, Mr. Park, sitting next to me, is that you have to change your mindset. Sometimes more transparent public administration means more restriction on the public administrators. More transparency means more restrictions on you. And also, you have to think out of the box. Not only GDP-oriented purpose for administration. You should change that to the people-centered administration. and sustainable way of administering the local authorities. The second area we are trying to do is to make more efforts in the area of capacity building. It was mentioned by many ministers from Bangladesh, that in many developing countries, the human resources are there, but the difference is they are not well trained. They are not professionals. They need capacity building. So this is what we do in DESA. We will do whatever we can within the available resources to help all the member states and the countries to promote their capacity building. Third is international cooperation. This is also an important area. By providing a platform for government representatives, delegates, member states of the United Nations, organizations, to learn from each other, to form regional cooperation or partnership. This is something we're trying to do. And the Public Service Awards is one way of encouraging all the public servants to do much more in the future. Last but not least, to share the useful, successful stories and the lessons learned. This is also very important. As United Nations Department, we have been doing this for quite some time. It's not enough. We're going to do more to provide the better platform on which all those interested or relevant government agencies, organizations, and governments will share their success stories and as well as the lessons learned so that we can advance together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wu. Would you like to make one final comment? Thank you.
네.
You me?
네, 감사합니다. 예, 유영보 유엔 사무차장님, 특별히 감사의 말씀드립니다. 이 주제에 관련해서 우리 대한민국에서도 우리 유엔 회원국들에게 우리 전자정부의 그 경험을 서로 공유하고 전파하기 위해서 많은 노력을 하고 있습니다. 세계 여러 나라에서 공무원들이 우리나라에 와서 직접 와서 우리나라의 전자정부와 관련된 여러 가지 기술과 정책 방법들을 교육을 받고 있습니다. 그리고 국가 간의 협력을 통해서 저희의 그 전자정부 경험을 전수하기 위해서 다양한 국제 협력을 추진하고 있습니다. 그래서 세계 여러 나라에서 혹시 우리나라의 그 전자정부 추진 경험에 대해서 관심 있는 나라들은 우리 그 대한민국 정부와 국제 협력을 통해서 그런 다양한 정책과 방법들을 서로 공유할 수 있을 것입니다. 앞으로 그런 협력들을 강화해 나감으로써 우리 유엔 회원국 모두가 이 전자정부의 그 비약적인 발전을 이루고 또 그것이 곧 인류 행복에 기여할 수 있도록 그렇게 추진해 나가겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Your Excellencies for your very enriching remarks, which I'm sure will lead to new ways of thinking and action, able to guide and implement innovating governance for sustainable development and well-being of people. I'll just quickly and succinctly highlight some of the points that were made today. There are many, so by no means will I cover them all. But the key words we can take away with us today are innovation, transformation, reform, collaboration, transparency, effective leadership, inclusiveness, accountability, investment. We need effective, innovative government to achieve sustainable development. We need to talk to each other more, government to non-government, domestic and international, rich and poor. Citizen engagement and participation are key to providing equitable and efficient essential services in order to promote the empowerment and well-being of all the people. E-government was mentioned very much. It can increase efficiency, provide better services, cut costs, and be more responsive to citizens' demands for greater transparency and accountability, stimulate economic growth, and promote social inclusion, particularly for vulnerable groups. E-government also holds the potential to address several of the issues faced by the small island developing states. More work needs to be done to ensure equitable access to women and girls, establishment and support of gender-responsive institutions, implementation of new initiatives, use of gender-responsive planning and budgeting, for example. There'll be continued collaboration with UN Women to highlight innovations in public governance and administration. And finally, the UN will launch new Sustainable Development Goals next year, which will help us get closer to our goals and also give us the initiative, I hope, to think outside the box, as Mr. Wu said. This Ministerial Roundtable has now concluded. Thank you. Thank you again, Excellencies. I invite you to take your seats back in the audience.
Excellencies, ministers, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, may I request you to give a big clap to our moderator. I think what we have just witnessed is a dialogue or an interaction between a humble citizen and a very august leadership. I would also request you to give a big clap to our honorable ministers for this participation. We have therefore concluded the Ministerial Roundtable. We are going to go for a short break of about 20 minutes, and so that we can prepare for the Public Service Awards ceremony, which is going to start at 11:20. According to my watch, that is within 22 minutes. So we can take that break and come back after 20 minutes. Thank you very much.